Alright guys, today we're gonna be reacting to Andrew destroy privileged brat with victim mentality, blame men for war. Oh, this is gonna be a doozy.
At least the goal that I had in mind when
Equality?
which is equity, not equality.
What I'm a little confused. What's equity? What would be an example of equity?
So there's the way I learned about it is that there could be a series of boxes.
Yeah,
and
I'm familiar.
So do you know what I'm talking about? Where in this sense, equity would be measures to have women have the same rights in the eyes of society and also men. So it would the ways that women and men would be upholded would be in different ways. I'm saying that this view of feminism that women need to somehow now have it better off than men, or that some women would say that women continue to have it worse than men, would be in this guise that it's a comparative structure. What I'm saying is that the whole idea of comparison is pitting the sides against each other. It's not about that.
Well,
It's about seeing each other for what we really need.
Can I just interject and just ask one quick clarifying question? Assume for a second the draft tomorrow was expanded to women and you were drafted. Would you go?
I don't want to fight in a war, and I'm not saying that men want to fight in a war either. I know.
You see how they don't answer the question? You notice? There's a reason why they don't answer the question. It means that they don't want to be accountable. So they deviate the conversation.
That there was a whole lot.
Yeah, I know, but would you go?
Would I go fight in a war?
Yeah.
No,
You're
I don't think
drafted.
I would be very good in combat. I also don't want to die. Selfishly.
Damn. You went at it.
Did you have a follow-up, Andrew, or I have some?
No,
Oh,
I
okay.
just wanted to get that clarified real quick.
Okay. Well, I mean, when it comes to this whole military conscription thing, what would be the feminist equity perspective on the current state of things when it comes to equity and the fact that men are only subject to military conscription?
I'm not going to say that I have an answer, but I would say that if women are against fighting in a war and being subject to the draft, and you're using a feminist agenda to try to uphold that, it would be a kind of a weak argument. It would have holes in it, because you would say, well, if you think that women and men are equal, then get on the battlefield with them. But I think that men also love to uphold the idea that part of the gender expectations that are held upon them is that they are the protectors and they are physically stronger. And so if you're physically stronger and you want to protect me, then go do it.
Wow.
Well, what if a man doesn't want to be drafted? That doesn't really change the fact that in the event of a draft, he would be drafted.
Can I ask something?
There you go.
I don't know the historics of it.
There you go. Right there. That's a trap. She's literally saving her for what is coming. She's literally saving her. That's why she interjects. It's something that females have. If you notice this in a lot of these podcasts, when one woman's getting owned, the other one will jump in to rescue her.
Like, how is that? How did that come to be?
What do you mean?
Like, drafting people and it. Like,
Okay,
how did
I mean,
that
I think I could take a crack at this, but I mean, throughout all human history, different tribes warred with each other, and if you were a man and you were able-bodied, they would put a spear in your hand and say, you're going to defend the tribe, otherwise they're going to take our land, they're going to take our women, they're going to commit atrocities against our civilian population. So I would imagine it just goes way back into human history of there's warring tribes, there's different.
Well, I would actually even go a step further and just grant, I think, what you're angling at, which is, I think the patriarchy brought us the draft. That it was a system of patriarchy which brought us the draft here in the United States. Do you guys disagree with that, or was that kind of where you were going with that?
He's setting them up.
Yeah, totally, right? So I got to ask you a question. How in the world could we ever repeal any of these things which the patriarchy have imposed upon us without appealing again to another patriarchy to do so?
Ooh.
You can't. Which means that grid one is correct and patriarchy is inevitable.
What's your other version of a different patriarchy?
She did not let it even sink in. She just jumped in.
what could you appeal to, which was not a patriarchy, and would not become a patriarchy by necessity, in order to overthrow a patriarchy?
I've never been here to necessarily overthrow the patriarchy. I think that's kind of a combative way of looking at the whole situation. And
You want to manipulate
I've
it.
seen models
Oh my
of a
God.
matriarchy
Well,
that
I don't
people try
think
to
so.
present.
So, for instance, let's say you pass laws. You would say that you would pass laws in order to get rid of this nefarious patriarchy, right?
I didn't say that.
Well, what would you?
Okay, but I don't understand then. How would you replace a patriarchy?
You keep saying I want to replace the patriarchy. I never said that I wanted to replace
But what
the
do you want to do?
patriarchy.
What do you want to
Okay,
do?
so then can you answer my question of how you would be able to replace a patriarchy even if you don't want to, absent appealing to a patriarchy?
I don't think that I necessarily have the answer to that question.
Yeah.
Exactly.
Because nobody has an answer to that question, because you necessarily will always create a new patriarchy no matter what. You have to appeal to the thing which you're trying to dismantle in order to dismantle the thing. That's why it's cyclical. It can't ever really work.
So-
When you think about it, it's very stupid.
But you're saying that men are systematically superior to women.
Yeah, say it,
in
yes.
the domain of force application, yes.
And
They are
yeah,
100% superior
Yeah.
to women in every single way almost when it comes to force application.
for you like strength.
Everything.
Well, not just strength, but any force application, be it
Everything.
machinery, guns.
Yeah, you don't have to be politically correct. It's everything. Let's talk about political structure, family. You know, all these things. Even our system of protection. Everything is just created for a reason, to protection, which come in man to do so.
Any of these things are going to be inherently superior because they are stronger and have larger skeletons.
Wait, I did want to
So
go. Oh, go ahead, Andrew.
So essentially, I'm just saying that the reason that this, to me, has always been circular logic is because I cannot ever seem to get an answer of how you would dismantle a patriarchy without appealing to a patriarchy, thus creating a new patriarchy in order to dismantle the old one.
What are your thoughts on a matriarchy? I'm just curious.
Yeah, she just
They,
glossed over.
they're non-existent. They can't actually exist because of this force applicator.
You know, a theoretical matriarchy.
They can't even theoretically exist, I don't think, because of the force applicator. So as long as there's men in the society, they're always going to have the monopoly on force application. Because that's true, I don't think a matriarchy is actually logically possible unless you were in some like really lopsided situation, like I don't know, you had 10,000 women and like 100 men. I think that might be possible, but even then, I'm not sure. You know, I'm not even sure then. So, but I don't think
Brian's
it's
laughing.
logically possible inside of general society.
You know what's
to have
crazy? He
matriarchal
gave that
systems.
example, and I was like, "Hold on, Andrew. Hold on for a second. Hold on for a second." And Brian was smiling, because it's something very strange to explain, right? When men are built for these kind of situations, right? We know how to handle certain things. 10,000 women against 100 men, well, you can make the argument, of course, but there's always a possibility that man might triumph.
Do you think that I lost my train of thought.
You got
but
owned,
you
that's
think
what
that
happened.
A matriarchy in theory just wouldn't work because women, like, in order for a society to operate on a functional basis, you would need strong force operation to be
Yeah,
Yeah.
there.
force applicators in order to enforce the law.
Ah, they don't
of
even
the
understand
land.
how this thing
So,
works.
in other words, if there's a criminal and you want him punished, there has to be big, burly, strong guys who take his ass to court, throw him in prison, and guard him at night. And there has to be big, strong men around to guard you at night with guns from other men who might hurt you. So, yeah, absent the force applicator, I don't see how it could ever work.
I can see what you're saying.
Here, I
Trey.
got one question. I didn't really
Yeah,
get
nice
like,
job,
a
Andre. Nice
straight
job.
answer on this. So what
Nice
would be the
job.
equitable thing when it comes to the current state of the military, the draft?
I don't have a strong answer. I would say that in the guise of the patriarchy, men, if they are in fact the superior force and they are viewed in their gender
No, but
roles
from the feminist worldview.
from the feminist
'Cause you said it was
worldview.
about equities.
Oh, if I were to propose something to unoppress the men.
Hmm.
just
Wow, what was that?
let's
That's a
assume that a
curveball.
draft is required. Like, you can't get rid of a draft.
There is a draft, yeah. Like, the United States has a draft.
Right. So, I mean,
What
I
the
don't
hell
know
are you
if
talking
I'm
about?
oversimplifying this, but I mean, the immediate answer that comes to my mind is you would simply equalize the draft. Women and men are subject to military conscription.
Right, that would be the automatic answer, would be that both men and women would be subject to
Right.
being in the army.
But under your whole thing with feminism being for equity, would that be equitable for both men and women to be subject to military conscription?
I would say not necessarily. Also, you're taking the way that I defined feminism and you're creating this whole idea that I'm defending feminism to the end.
So, but why using feminism in the first place? Why using the definition, not even the definition, but the term of the feminist to identify yourself? If you identify as a feminist, you're putting yourself into a box, and that's it.
The earth under the guise of its definition as it exists now, and that's not what I said. I said that I was actually criticizing some of the elements of feminism. I said I don't think it should be a comparative structure.
But I'm just a little bit confused. So, like, do you think that women should be allowed to vote?
Do I think that the sky is blue? Of course I do.
Right. I'm in favor of women voting, but it's interesting to me that you immediately say, yes, women should be allowed to vote, but you can't really give me a straight answer on if it's equitable for women to be subject to military conscription
To
the
defend the
same way
voting.
that men are.
Well, I did tell you. I said that if men want to say that in a society, they are the ones that are the protectors, they're the providers, they're physically stronger.
Under feminism, we don't really say that, do we?
I wouldn't say that we do, because I think in feminism, people don't like to necessarily buy into evolutionary roles, because I would say that it's limiting. I don't think that evolutionary roles are necessarily the way that we must live in society. I think that's a little bit archaic. But like in some ways, I think that it is useful to look at it through that lens when we look at the innate strengths of men and women. But the thing is that at this point in society, I wasn't put on this earth to make babies and cook at home or whatever, or be a gatherer per se, and that men
Wow.
are going to be hunters.
Wow. And this is where it comes down to we really messed this thing up. This is what it is. The entitlement and not having a duty or a mindset of duty. Like you have no duty to this society. And we're not saying that you have to put up kids, but it's the mentality in the entitlement. Not thinking that your parents did the great sacrifice. Your ancestor did the great sacrifice for you to be here inside a building that has an air conditioner with a microphone and millions of people watching you to say something as stupid as that. It's beyond me. It's beyond me, folks.
That's not the way that I was raised, at least.
Damn, you were
Were
raised
you
very
put here
wrong.
to cure cancer?
No, I
No,
don't
but
think I was
she
born
has a
with.
point that then once we get to this point where women have our rights, we're educated, we're
Look at
you
this.
know, we've
Well,
gained
hold on,
this
hold on.
equal.
So if women weren't put here to be what? Just say what you said again.
To be baby makers and
Wow,
gatherers.
Right. And men weren't put here to be disposable parts of the military industrial complex and just be put
define
through.
it in the same way,
Hold
please.
on.
Don't say that
No,
like that.
I'm to be just put through the meat grinder of war.
Well, if you were to parallel the logic you're saying, and you're saying
I don't-
women are baby makers and gatherers, men would be providers and hunters.
And protectors.
And
And
They
part of
are.
that
But I mean,
entailment.
hang on. But how can you say that they're not? Men provide the food. Overwhelmingly, they provide basically all of it. In fact, women provide almost none of it. Men provide all the infrastructure. How are they not providing and gathering? Seems like that's exactly what they're doing.
What do you
I
mean,
don't know if
money-wise?
that's in every household. I don't know if that's
Damn,
true.
look at
now
this
that
lady.
feminism
Oh.
has, like,
Well, you can buy the food, but
Well-
it's made by men.
Like
sure.
they're in the farms and they're in
No,
the
they're
slaughterhouses?
hunting.
Yeah,
Well,
who do you think is
yes.
making all the food? Do you think
Yeah.
it's a bunch of
Most-
women out there with hoes and they're going, ooh, and they're hiking up the cabbage? Like, what do you think's going on out there? on
Well,
those
not
farms?
only is it majority men in agriculture, how do you get the food from point A to point B?
Mm-hmm.
Men are overwhelmingly, for example, truck drivers.
I don't think that anyone has was.
But let me double down a bit on this. And then how do trucks run? Well, they run on oil. Men are overwhelmingly the ones who are, for example, in the oil
Drilling oil.
industry.
Who takes care of your children?
I don't
What?
see how that's really
Well,
relevant,
generally
but-
not their mother, unfortunately,
well, you're
because
looking- you're
feminism
looking at the
demands that
things-
mothers. I'm going to answer your question.
Damn.
Generally, the mother is not taking care of the children at home, which is the most optimal system because feminism has demanded that women go into the workplace in order to have these crazy social safety nets. So we actually outsource the raising of our children to strangers. That seems less than optimal to me.
But who are those caregivers typically? Are they men or are they women?
Generally speaking, women are doing the same jobs that they've always done, yes. So they're in teaching roles in service industry. That's basically what they mostly do.
She's saying like just like she's making a point. You're not making a point, lady. You're just saying, you just spewing talking points, but you're not making a point. I can sense your ignorance. Yeah, you're being a little smartass, but you're not understanding what you're doing right now. Like by opening your mouth at this way, you're putting yourself in a situation where a lot of people are gonna have eyes on you, but it's not gonna be good. Because I don't think you really has understand I don't think you have really understand these ideas. You're just spewing them.
And I don't even see why there's necessarily a problem with that. It's fine for your child, I guess, to go to school in kindergarten, have a kindergarten teacher, but I think that outsourcing your child care for the purpose of you going to work is a
Stupid.
less than optimal system. That seems
Bad.
to be something which is far more oppressive to women than any of these systems that you've cited.
Well, this was a system designed by men, so maybe you should talk to the men about why women have to go and work.
It has not been. Women, since they've had egalitarianism, have been able to vote on these systems and have definitely had their input and have reformed how these systems operate absent patriarchy. That's not true that women have no say now and that this is a patriarchal system. Women, by and large, they vote almost as much as men do.
I wasn't talking about political power necessarily.
What are you talking about?
Well, I mean, even
Even
institutional
though,
power.
I mean, look at the ratio
is-
in Congress. I mean, like, it's pretty obvious who's in power.
What the hell is
How
she
is
talking
that
about?
obvious?
Just look at the numbers. You love to look at numbers.
Wow.
Yeah, but the systems themselves are not just designed by Congress, but by lobbyists, by women inside of educational systems. There's all sorts of pull and thrust because now women are political pawns because they can vote, right?
Sure, I guess you could say that. I wouldn't reduce women down to political pawns.
They are. They
Well, I
they
mean,
are.
But your overlords in Congress would, wouldn't they?
Damn.
They would, wouldn't they?
Yeah, they would. They would.
Yeah.
So
Yeah,
that's how they are.
there we go. She got home. That's it. End of the debate. End of the debate. End of the debate. She's gonna get a reality check on life. She's gonna. I mean, this is what happened when people don't get checked when they're young, man. Like certain peoples are very well protected, and when there's no type of suffering, meaning I'm not talking about very rough suffering, but the suffering of ideas, putting your ideas into tests. Things like this occur. Like they don't even understand how this machine works. They just think that they're passing a law. Let's say that 95% of the politicians are female, and it's like the president's female, the vice president female. They think that they're gonna run this stuff, man. When you only need like 10% of the population to be male to just underthrow the entire system. It's insane.
Viewed men and women as just being a demographic of voting pawns.
Are men political
and-
pawns in the same way, yet they have to go into the draft?
Yeah, men have also been political pawns. That's correct. But when it comes to the draft, there's no real way around it because you cannot have a fighting force which is equipped by mostly not men and have it be effective. There's no good way around that.
Well, then how is it oppression, to your point?
Ooh,
do you mean?
what is
Well,
that?
it would be oppression because there's no additional privilege that comes with the expectation, whereas in the reverse, that would never be the case. What sort of privilege do you think that women would have absent an expectation? I'd love to know what it is.
Can you give me an example?
Ooh.
Yeah, like men have to go and get drafted and go fight in wars. Women do not. What is the privilege that men get for having that responsibility?
What's the privilege that women get for bearing the children, getting to stay at home?
The
Yeah,
government
that's a
doesn't
huge
force you
privilege.
to get pregnant.
First of all, hang on, I'll just answer directly. Yeah, that seems like a huge privilege.
Okay, well, I'll take my privilege and you can go out on the battlefield
Oy.
as a man.
Okay, so what? I guess all that equity was just bullshit.
I didn't say that.
Well,
So he sent her up nicely. So he was getting to that point. She didn't see it coming. Nice job.
then I thought that's what we wanted was equity. Does it sound like we have that tall box so that we have that equity that you're talking about, so we can both see over the same fence?
Look, I'm not saying that the draft would be probably one of the more contentious points that you could bring up when you talk about gender roles. I don't want to bring up reproductive rights because I know that you all would love to destroy me on that one, but women die in childbirth, and also child rearing
Yeah, but
is
it's rare. It's
Well,
rare that
it's-
women die.
They
in
die
childbirth.
after abortions too.
Okay, respectfully, I'm not going to get into that whole thing. My
Wow.
point is that child rearing is not, I would say that the roles that women take in society are not necessarily as valued as the roles that men take.
Why should they be?
What do you mean?
I just asked you a direct question. You said that women's value in society is not as valuable as men. Why should it be the case that it is?
In under the eyes of equity, it should be.
Yeah, but you just got done saying you don't care about equity because
I
men
didn't- I
need
never
to go
said that I
fight the
didn't care.
wars. Well, then I don't understand. If it's a privilege for you to stay at home, but not a privilege for me to fight a war, how's that equity?
I don't think that it's an innate privilege for me to get to stay at home. In that context, I could have the privilege of my safety,
Well,
and you don't.
it's
But
not-
you
it's
have
a
the
privilege
privilege
for
of
you to
walking
work?
home at night and not being afraid that you're going to get attacked.
Hang on. How is it not a
Wait.
privilege to have somebody else providing for you while you stay at home?
Because I'm raising kids, and so
What if
they're
you're not
providing.
raising kids?
Well, if I'm not, then sure, then I should go be a
Then it's a
productive member of
privilege?
society.
Okay,
But
so
if you're gonna
is that
sit here and
equity?
try to-
Because if you're staying at home and your hubby's taking care of you and he can be drafted and you cannot be drafted, how's that equity?
Because there's other responsibilities that I would have as a woman.
What?
Let's go on.
Well, under this societal structure, if you're saying that that's the expectation, I'm not saying that women should have to go and be child bearers if they don't want to, but if you're going to look at the patriarchy and you're going to analyze gender roles to try to justify the draft or whatever it is, then
Yeah, but how is it not a privilege, again, back to the question, how is it not a privilege for you to be able to stay at home and raise no children?
Yeah,
at
he's
all?
good at this. He's just bringing the conversation back to the question. You see how she just moved the goalposts? Keep moving it around. Keep moving it around. But he said it's a master debater. He knows what's going on.
And he is still subject to the draft and you are not. How are you not privileged, and how's that not equity? How is that equitable in any way?
well, women can still go to war. They're just not obligated to. And
Yeah, so
I
that
think,
wouldn't be equity, would
So,
it?
well, let me finish. You're right. Under this argument, that would be the case. But I just, I don't know. You're right. I have a hard time with this one because you are subjecting men and not women. But the thing is that who created the draft? I'm pretty sure that it was men. Why were
Where's
they
all the
not
feminists
subjecting women to the
demanding that
draft
it go
earlier?
away?
But why were they not subjecting women to the draft earlier then?
Because women took
are
over the
strong.
workforce.
Because women are ineffective soldiers.
Okay, well,
there's-
then go be an effective soldier.
Let me add another argument to that. So on a macro
Got
level,
destroyed.
for example, if a society were
Big
to
loving
send large swaths of young, fit women, able-bodied women to war, let's say it's a civilization, you need women to be able to perpetuate the population. So a man can impregnate 1,000 women, but a woman can only be pregnant with one child at any given time. So on the macro level, it does make sense from that component. Like if the society is like, okay, we're going to send 20 to 30, 40, 50% of our
man.
able-bodied citizenry, and that same cohort of people, if it was women, would be the most fertile too, at least from a historical perspective. From that sense, it would make more sense to send men, because you'd be better able to replenish the population of a society.
And so, with that logic, then is it innately just a privilege for women to not be subject to that, given your logic that men would be
anymore.
more effective?
Not anymore.
Right. Well
Yes.
then, yeah.
Yeah, how would it not be? How would it not be that you're privileged just because you cannot form a task as effective as somebody else, therefore you get some bonus that they don't get? That's the opposite of equity.
I see what you're saying. I still
the L.
don't agree that it's innately a privilege because you're kind of going with this logic
It's the
that
opposite of equity. How could it be anything other than the opposite of equity to say because you cannot perform the task as well, that therefore these people do, but it's equitable because of that? That makes no sense.
because in your view, society would be upheld in that sense because you're not sending.
Yeah, but I'm a patriarchist. You're the feminist. In my
well, you're
view,
pitting
yes.
us against each other in a way that's really just not productive. Like, I'm trying to understand what you're saying, and you're just trying
Well,
to
I'm
make
There you
going
go.
to explain it.
Tone policing. Tone policing. And she using a little bit of sign language. Trying to put a little bit of guilt. Right?
To you so that you understand.
And
So-
also, she has a problem with need to be right. Need to be right. She wants to be right. She wants to be right so far because this is the first time she's getting any kind of pushback in her, world view.
It's fine for you to do an internal critique. I'm fine with that. But I'm doing one as well. My worldview is that I believe in patriarchy. I'm a patriarchist. So I believe that men deserve to have additional privileges that women do not deserve to have because of the force applicator society relies on that men bring to the table. You as the feminists believe instead that there should be equity between both sexes. That's fine. You can say that you believe that there should be equity, but when I show you a significant problem where equity really can't exist, you just kind of shrug it off, and I don't
Well-
really understand that.
Well, so you think that, and I really hate the idea that we're going to pigeonhole women to just being childbearers or think they contribute a lot more to
Well,
society
who else
than
can
just
do
that.
it?
You're right.
What else? Wait. They can't produce anything more valuable than
Well,
children.
yeah, so if you want to talk about the things that are really special to women, really special to men, then you could boil it down to that if you want to simplify it. But I think that this idea that women get the privilege of safety, but also there's a variety of tasks that would be required of them if they were to be raising
What?
children.
Yeah,
And
but
so
the
that's-
government does not compel any given woman to have children. You
Have
could
children.
you could go through your entire life and just choose to never have children.
That's actually not true, depending on the state you live in. If
What the
you're-
hell? Look at this.
What states?
Look at
make
look at
for-
look at this. Look at this girl coming from the left field, spewing some weird stuff that she probably heard in one of those back pages on TikTok. What she's saying makes no sense. You're telling me that some state will force you, inseminate you to have a kid, man? Come on now.
force
Okay.
you. There's a lot of states that
You're
have
talking about
in
abortion.
US.
Right, you're talking,
Okay,
yeah, she's
but-
saying that there are states that won't allow you to abort.
If she got
yeah,
that
that's
say,
true,
okay.
but no, the states did not force you to open your legs.
I just
right?
think that it's
not
funny
a-
that the
a
way
man
you're looking
can.
at brute force or what is it called, force application, and men
force
sacrificing their
application.
lives and their safety to go to war, but you're not viewing women's role in the same way. You're not looking at it that men get the
Because it's not
privilege
the
to
same.
not be responsible
We're
for
not the same.
children and the upkeep of the
How do
nuclear
they get
family.
the privilege of not being responsible? If you have a child tomorrow with a man,
'Cause
he's
you would
going to
be
be
at war.
responsible.
Because you
hang
would be
on. If you
providing.
hang on, I'm going to explain so that you understand, because I'll look at it through your worldview. Tomorrow, if you got pregnant in a state where abortion was legal, does a man have any say at all on whether or not you abort?
In California, no.
No, he does not. So if you have a child, that is 100% your choice, absent him, but he is still responsible based on your choice for rearing the child or not rearing the child. So even if you choose to have the kid, he still has to pay child support. Nobody's letting him off the hook. That does sound like it's equity because it's based on your choice. In this case, this is compelled. This is not based on choice. So if that is true and you do not have that, I do not understand how that could be equitable.
Well, I don't think that. First of all, I would say that California would be more progressive in that sense, in terms of the feminist agenda per se, if that's how you want to put it. And the other states, that's not.
There we go. I don't know if you guys caught that, or she admitted. There's some states like California, what they're pushing is the witch agenda. I'm gonna call it witch because that's what it is. It's just cultists and witchcraft, all that stuff, just put into the politics of our livelihood.
Necessarily the case. Women are not allowed to have an abortion freely in the same way that
They could
people
travel to another state.
Well, wouldn't you say that that's not really?
Even then, okay, hang on. Even then, though, right? In all of the states where abortion is legal, does a man have a say in whether or not a woman can have one or not?
They're the ones that are making the laws typically, and they are restricting
Wow,
women's
you're not
access
answering the
to
question.
abortion.
No, they're not. Women
Yes,
also
they
make laws and vote on laws.
Yeah, and
I don't know where
I'm
you
not
get the
for
idea
those
that it's all
women.
men who are voting on these laws. They most certainly are not.
It's women in the context
So-
of the patriarchy, though. Might as well be a man at that point.
Okay, so even if it's the patriarchy who is giving you abortion rights, we'll just grant it for the sake of argument. Is there a single state which you can be in where a man can that has abortion which is legalized, where a man can tell you, no, you can't go abort that child?
A male citizen could not directly prevent me
Yeah,
from
they
getting an
can't do it.
abortion under the guise
So
of the
then
law.
it's going to be your choice. And if it's going to be your choice, and the man is still held responsible for child support, this type of thing, that at least sounds like it has, even from your worldview, equity. But how in the world can you say that there's equity in a draft? How could that be equitable?
Again, I love
not-
how he just brought it back. That's what makes him a very good master debater. Because I think he understands where she's coming from. She has no idea where Andrew's coming from. And even if you can give her, before even the show, a book showing how Andrew Wilson debates, I don't think she will never see it coming. Why is that? We can go with the pickup artist. There's hundreds and thousands of books about how to pick up women. And females still don't get it. I'm telling you, folks. I'm telling you, something's going on in the air. And I think we're for a rude awakening.
I'm not going to repeat myself because clearly my argument to you is not compelling.
I can move things on a little
Yeah.
bit here. It's just interesting to me. It would be so easy to just say, yeah, equality would be both men and women being subject to military conscription, but it seems like you aren't really prepared to propose that.
That's why I use the word equity instead.
I don't really-
And you don't have to be for that, and I'm not. And the whole point of equity is that you're not equal in every context. That's the whole point. And so in the context of force application, men and women are not equal. You said it yourself.
Yeah, so to each according to their own, and from each according to what they can give.
That's not what you said.
Is that what you mean by equity?
In terms of gender roles, or like on the
Yeah.
basis of individual differences?
Gender roles.
Do you,
Yes,
do you
I
want
guess.
to do you want to repeat it, Andrew, one more
Oh,
time?
so communism?
I don't put words in my mouth. That's not what I said.
Andrew-
No, that's literally what that is. To each according to what they can give, and from each according to what they can give. That's communism. Literally.
I think you're oversimplifying my
Marxist
argument.
doctrine. I just read it. I mean, it's not verbatim. I'm paraphrasing it, but that's Marxist doctrine.
Any tankies at the table?
I would love to hear from the women that seem that
any
they're.
communists?
I do feel like it's really hard to know. Like,
Oh,
there
look
can
at
only
this.
Be one gender, so it's
Look
really
at-
hard
look
to
at-
I just
look
want to
at-
read this verbatim from each.
Look. Let's go back to this, folks. Let's go back to this. Look at here, post-wall lady. How she just making an argument and looking at her to look for our approval. She's just really trying to save her. She's really trying to save her.
I would love to hear from the women that seem that
any
they're.
communists?
I do feel like
Look at that, look at
it's really hard to know.
There you go.
Like we can only be one gender.
Am I
so
doing
it's
it
really
right?
hard
Hang on, I
know
just want to
what
read
it's-
this verbatim from each according
Yeah, and Andrew went like, shut up. He went straight to shut up. We don't want to hear you. We know what you're doing.
to his ability.
Remember, go for these kind of tactics will work smoothly 10 years ago. Now a lot of guys are waking up to what's going on. It's amazing.
To each according to his needs. That sounds like exactly what you're saying. So, from each according to his ability, in this case, men have the ability to be the applicators of force, and so you think it's equitable that they fight your wars. To each according to their needs, in this case, you need to be protected, and so men need to protect you, right?
I didn't.
What-
I didn't say any of that.
Let me ask you a question. Would you?
I think you did, but
Would you prefer?
Okay.
Would
For
you,
your agenda, I did.
Oh,
would you prefer?
well, I mean, you agree. You literally said yes. I asked you the question. I mean, I paraphrased it. That's
Andrew,
true.
I
but it
didn't
was
say
basically
that
the
I
same
was a
thing.
communist. I never said that. You're trying to prove I was a communist to what? Be an antagonizer? Like I'm not
Okay,
a
hold on,
communist.
No, I'm just okay. Well, let me just ask you. From each according to his ability. In this case, you say under gender that men have the ability to do this, and so they should, right?
I don't agree with the idea that you should take all men in America and schlep them off to whatever country.
all men in the U.S. are subject to the selective
To
service.
the draft.
Well, isn't that a big fat bummer?
It's interesting that you can be so flippant about something as serious as this, especially given
You guys
the
have been
fact-
interrogating me for like 20 minutes.
Yeah,
Well,
and
you're
I also
because-
feel like men and women don't know.
because you are currently you are the definition of being very disingenuous in a conversation. You're being very disingenuous, and even when knowing that you're wrong, you want to be on top. Like you want to demonstrate dominance when you're a little chihuahua.
What it's like to be each other. So it's like,
All right.
I mean,
Yeah, look at this
you're
lady.
coming
Look at that. Look at
her
this.
So hard,
We're not-
like
no,
she
not
doesn't.
really.
She doesn't know what it's like to be a man.
They're
Then
just
I don't
she's
see
not
how.
gonna try.
I don't see how. Hold on.
You're just
I don't
exploring the
see.
worldview.
I don't see how that's relevant at all.
Well, can I explain?
Yeah.
The way I feel like it's relevant is because you guys never answered like what's patriarchy to you, because I
Okay,
don't.
no.
I'll tell you.
Hold on.
how-
No. Hold on. Let's stay focused here. So, okay. Just one question when it comes to the preferred
Nice
economic
job.
model that
Nice
you
job.
would
Hey,
like. Currently, we have a
Hey,
capitalist.
people give a lot of stuff to Brian, but Brian recognized what's going on, and he's bringing it back to this lady right here. Know it all. She knows it all, right? And she wants to leave. He has to be with the mentality of abundance. If she want to leave, the door's open. You can stand up and leave, or we're gonna finish this conversation.
System. Would you prefer a socialist or a communist system?
See?
How is
Can you?
that how
See,
fair?
look,
I don't
look.
think-
See, can you help me? Can you help me? Can you help me? Look. Can you help me? Can you help me?
That's
How
saying
can I don't
relevant.
think any
It's-
of us could
it's-
have a
That's not saying
saying
relevant
because
at all.
like I've never experienced anything but capitalism.
related to
I
equity.
haven't studied much of them either, so
Well, I
I
was kind of
personally
just
do
asking
not have
her if you want to
like-
just give a quick answer.
Sorry.
And
Nice
no,
job.
it's okay, I didn't want to answer. You want me to say whether or not I would prefer a different economic model opposed to capitalism?
Yeah.
Yeah, besides capitalism, so either I guess socialism or communism.
I would say that it's not realistic for there to be another economic model on the global stage.
But that's not the question.
So you're talking like smaller communes type thing, like a small commune, like a 500-person commune.
I just told you I think I
Well,
don't.
you said on the global stage.
Oh, so if if the world had not been globalized.
So, like, maybe U.S. What do you think U.S. should be? Should it stay capitalism? Should it change to socialism, communism?
I
There we go.
think that there's a lot of problems with
That's
capitalism.
not the question.
Sure,
There's problems with communism as well.
absolutely. But would you prefer that model, either socialism or communism, over capitalism?
As someone who benefits from capitalism, no.
Anybody else here would prefer?
She had to say that stupid comment. Like she's just adding comment to a statement. I mean, she's kind of annoying.
from model? You can give me a yes or no. I mean, we don't have to linger.
No, no.
Anybody? Okay. Just a couple things.
You see,
here.
when you give them the opportunity to talk, they don't want to talk. Have you noticed that? As soon as they ask him a question, a straight question, to say anything, they didn't say anything. You know why? Because they don't have anything to say, unless it's to defend each other. Because females are very collectivist. They lack the sense of individualism. That's why they had to look at each other to see if they can jump in and rescue each other. And this post-war lady, she's trying to be the rescuer of the entire panel. It's not working. You're dealing with guys that do this every day. And these social cues are very clear.
You can give me a yes or no. I mean, we don't have to linger.
Look at that. See? Look at that.
Anybody? Okay. Just a couple things here. So you did mention one thing about men don't have to feel scared when they're walking alone at night. This actually isn't true. One, this is just proved by statistics. Men are more likely to be victims of violent crime. And then in addition to that, men can absolutely feel scared to walk alone.
Yeah, that's...
So you brought that up earlier as a sort of a counterpoint of, well, women feel scared to walk alone at night.
I mean, I'm sure men get jumped more than women would, like walking alone out in public.
Okay, sure. I'm honestly sick of arguing about this, to be frank, so you can take the floor if you want to speak on that.
Well, I mean...
He had to call the reason she had got away with that attitude because Brian need to check her out, man.
I just wanted to give you a little counterpoint there because you did mention that as a rebuttal to, I forgot precisely what he said, but you mentioned, I think it was, I'm trying to think exactly what you were doing it in rebuttal to, but...
So you just wanted to argue about my point then?
Well, you were using that argument, and I just want to point out that men can also feel scared walking alone at night.
I didn't say that men couldn't. You're continuing to lie in this comparison. I didn't say that men, just because women feel scared at night, doesn't mean that men can't. But somehow to you, it's offensive for us as women to say
it's not offensive.
You seem like maybe you're offended.
No, I'm not offended, but there's this idea that you think that men just move through the world like very blasé and infallible, when actually we have just as the same concerns as you.
Did you not hear the argument that I said about how I think that there's a lot of societal pressures that men face? You're acting like I just said that men get it easy and that there's no problems. I didn't say that.
But this is a common argument I hear of, well, us women, we're scared to walk alone at night, which would indicate to me that you're doing a comparison argument.
I wouldn't necessarily say that.
What you got?
No, it's fine.
No, just say it really quick. I'm not going to linger on this one for too long.
No, it's just the fact that we're afraid to go out at night because of men. The same way that you're mentioning that men are scared to walk alone at night, also because of men.
Okay,
like the men are scared of the men.
Dang,
we're scared of the men.
Wow.
Yeah, we're not scared of all men. We're scared of...
Well, what do you want? I don't. But what you should do? I mean, what do you do? What do you want? You want men to be close in jail or in the house and not get out? Well, I mean, these arguments have no thought behind it.
Just the dangerous men, the possibility that it's
Right.
a dangerous man. That's that.
Okay, so sure, but it's a very small proportion of men who tend to perpetuate these violent crimes. Very
So
small
then
percentage.
Why are you men scared of men then?
Yeah, especially if you're in the patriarchy
Man.
and you're the ones on top. Like, why are you scared?
Okay. A victim is a victim no matter the sex of the perpetrator. So we can always point to, it's men's fault. It's kind of irrelevant.
What about the men, though?
If I get stabbed or shot, the perpetrator of the crime, because I share genitalia with them, I'm no less stabbed or no less shot. So it's kind of this sort of derailment of the actual conversation. It's just, are victims less victimized depending on the perpetrators of the sex? I would argue no. I just wanted to point out that men also can fear being alone walking alone at night.
I don't think that you needed a stage to say that everyone feels fear.
Oh wow.
I'm not
Sure.
trying to take away from your male
And then-
experience, but here I am
Wow.
talking about my female
Cool.
experience. and you're questioning
Chain,
it.
an insult.
I'm not questioning your female experience.
No, but you did question that
There you go,
very
that-
same experience
Shame. They're trying to bring shame and guilt.
by using your
Tone policing.
statement of like, oh, men get scared at night too, and then that's when I said the
Right, but it's
of
not just-
men, and then
you're
your
trying to-
point kind of went everywhere.
You're
after
trying to
that.
paint it as if this is like a solely or primarily female concern, when it, as far as if we're talking about violent crime, men are just as likely, if not more, to be victims of violent crime than women.
Well, can there not be concerns on the basis of gender?
I suppose, but this idea that
You seem to
this
have a big one
suppose-
with the
this-
draft.
What do you mean?
You have this whole argument about the draft, and you're saying
Yeah.
You're the
that
one-
would be
you-
a concern on the basis of
No,
gender.
you're the one that bringing the equity argument to this. You're the one bringing the equity. You're just trying to say bullets to just start shooting when they're not looking. You're the one bringing the equity argument.
And I'm
Sure.
here saying that my safety as a woman at night, I was speaking for myself and women, and I said that statement. And you're here saying that I was essentially trying to make it a female issue, and that for some reason that was somehow.
Well, your risk of violent crime at night is not increased by virtue of you being a woman, whereas your chance of being drafted is as a
Increasing.
man is exclusive to the male gender.
Yeah, so there are issues that are on the basis of gender.
What the hell is she saying, bro?
Sure.
But women
Yeah,
walking
you mean
alone
it's
at night
there's
isn't
an issue with
based on
with
gender.
equity, right?
I
you
would
go.
argue that it is,
There
and
we
you
go.
can
Okay.
tell me otherwise.
Moving on from that, a couple people were saying, but men, who are the ones who send people to war? Who are the ones who initiate drafts? I would actually make the argument they've done research on this, so they actually analyzed compared, for example, monarchs. They compared male monarchs to female monarchs, and they actually found that queens were actually more likely to wage war than their male counterparts. So this idea that if we found ourselves under a matriarchy, or we found ourselves governed by women, that the world would somehow be more peaceful, or there would not be war, is dubious at best. Given
No, women do it easily. They will start a war. They will start a war, and then resign. Because accountability is not a part of their nature. You see how a lot of these politicians, the female politicians, they basically resign. When the water gets very hot, they just resign. That's it. Right now in the United States, we're dealing with a massive problem with female politicians and corruption. And it's a plant site, Tiffany, the mayor from Illinois. Corruption so visible, and we don't know how to handle that because we cannot believe it. We cannot register as a male. We cannot fathom to have that level of corruption so easily visible. I mean, and this is what we have to really understand when it comes down to things like this. Do we really want this? Do we really want this?
the fact that female monarchs throughout history waged war more than kings. So I just wanted to bring that up. I did want to go around the table really quick on this. We were talking really quickly about strength. I don't suspect there'll be, well, we'll see. This is related to the whole warfare thing. Generally speaking, are men stronger than women?
Yeah, that's scientifically fact.
On a biological basis, yes.
Sure.
What do you mean, sure?
I'll just agree with it.
What do you mean? No.
Yes.
No. It's a yes and no. He called that. Now, short is not a positive statement, folks. Short's neutral. She has to say yes or no. She had to say yes or no.
Don't just agree just
Yes.
because you think it's what I want to hear. What do you actually think?
Yeah.
Does anybody feel like that's not?
Sounds like you just want to argue with her.
No, but I want people to answer honestly.
Yeah.
Okay, all right. If that's your honest answer, okay.
Interesting that Andrew said, you know what, I'm not just gonna let it happen. I'm gonna just see. She got her own. Look at her. She's actually looking at Andrew, and Andrew's not giving her an inch. Look at that. Andrew's not giving her an inch. Interesting. Let me know what you guys think in the comment section below. I'll see you in the next one.